and welcome back to the Retire While You Work podcast. My name is Carson Odom, a wealth advisor here at Adams Wealth Partners, joined by Jeri Agee, Director of Operations, and Myles Zuger, another wealth advisor. Thanks for joining us today. Today's topic is pretty interesting, the psychology of money, and I think we can all relate to how money has impacted us growing up, even in our adult lives, how it's impacted us and how we're all kind of think differently just based on how we were raised and things we were taught whenever we were children about money. And it impacts us over the long term for the rest of our life, whether or not we kind of realize it. And we were just kind of sharing stories about our earliest memories of money. And I think one of the earliest memories that I have is my dad's a contractor, and my parents bought and started remodeling a very old home in this was probably 25 years ago or so. And I remember my time card that I would write for the hour or two that I would help out with my dad would be literally like $1 or $2 an hour. So pretty much a worthless helper, but also it was low cost for them to employ me to either
Well, it
week
was
or do
low
any
cost
work.
for them, but it was also like a very good lesson for you being that young.
That's valid. Yep.
Yeah.
Got to
What
be
what
around
what
my
were some
dad.
things? Yeah, what were some things that you did? Pick up
It
nails.
was it. I remember specifically in their house. It was it was built in 1900. The whole house was like this seafoam green, and the carpet was green. The walls were green. The trim, the intricate wood staircase was painted green. So me and my older brother, we literally, I remember this project took forever. We had a heat gun in one hand and a scraper in the other hand,
Mm.
and we would heat the paint, scrape it off. It was awful because it was intricate
Oh
wood
yeah. I don't even know how
trim.
y'all got it all
And we would
off.
just have to sit there, and it was a big staircase. So it took forever.
And you made like 20 bucks.
It made like $20 over the course of the year trying to do that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one of my earliest memories is when I was in school growing up, all through school, middle school, high school, before I went to college, both my parents worked, and my mom would call me some afternoons before she got home from work and tell me to check the mail, and if the credit card bill was there, to pull it out and not let my dad see it. And so that really stuck with me for some reason. And I thought, wow, is that how it's supposed to be? Did they not communicate on money? Is that what it's going to be like in my life? And so I feel like I've tried to yes, I do spend money, and maybe I don't want my husband to know how much sometimes, but I'm honest about it. So, I mean, that was just a little thing that always stuck with me about how finances and money really can get to you, like, emotionally. I mean, it's an emotional thing.
Yeah, mine's kind of this. For like the first thing I think about money is or memory is I just remember my mom like growing up sitting at the kitchen table with the stack of bills and writing checks out to mail them in and pay for. Obviously, things are a little different now, and that you can just set up auto pay and debits to your checking account automatically and like auto pay and stuff like that. So it's a little bit different world that we live in. But I think that just kind of maybe taught me like the responsibility of paying bills and working through that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have another, I was a little bit older, but in high school, I had kind of what almost made me want to get into this industry was I had I think my sophomore year of high school, I had a personal finance class and had a awesome teacher who was passionate about it, made it a lot of fun. And from that point forward, I knew that I wanted to do something with personal finance. I didn't know exactly what it would look like. Obviously, I didn't know that I would be here in this capacity. That's beyond my wildest dreams. But I knew because of that one teacher and how he taught, how passionate he was about it, that impacted me to put my head on straight with my own personal finances because I knew that I wanted to be in this industry. So even, you know, and this is kind of a side note, but teachers have a heavy impact on you. And some of my best teachers and subjects that I learned from the best and had the most fun with, it was because the teacher was passionate about it and invested their heart and soul into it. So that's another big impact that I had in the realm of
I
it.
feel like when you think about like money and how they teach it in school, it's like very polar opposites. It's either you have a good experience like that, or it's like I remember all they taught us was like maybe a 2 week time period of like how to write out checks and balance a checkbook.
Yeah,
And like
balance
nothing,
checkbook.
like
That's what I
nothing else
remember.
beyond that. And now it's like, I know some older people still do like balance the checkbook, but like I don't know if like any of my friends who like balance the checkbook. It's just they just maybe probably don't even watch the ledger on their online banking statements that close, which is not a great thing.
Oh, I mean,
And
my
then
children
like,
do
yeah,
it. Like,
and
I'm
then have
always
no
like,
idea how to
how do
balance
you
it.
know how much money you have? And they're like, I mean, I just see it in my account. And I'm like, that, but you have bills coming out. I mean, they don't have any sort of system, and it drives me nuts. And I don't know how to
And
tell them to do it either, because I can preach all day long about budgeting and all that. But if they're not actually keeping up with what they're spending, there's an issue there. But yeah, we
ever
kind of
since
got off on a tangent there, but yes, they don't teach it. That was great for you, Carson, because honestly, I still think to this day, they don't teach enough on personal finance.
Yeah, for sure. And ever since then too, whenever I opened my first bank account, I was probably one of a few, but I had a paper ledger that I would balance and everything each month. Then I learned that, oh, I could do this on a spreadsheet. I can do it online. And then now with software, you can kind of reconcile a bank statement inside of QuickBooks that I have my personal finances in. Again, it just keeps going downhill with how in the weeds that I can get with it. But all that to say, I think, money and what we learn, especially when we're children, deeply impacts us today. And especially when it comes to the stock market, I think that's ultimately where we can kind of get to this conversation, is how people view the stock market. We have, from clients that, existing clients, new clients, and prospects that we meet with, it's very different, the experiences people have with the stock market. Some on one extreme are budget heavy, and they always save 20% of their paycheck, and they love the stock market. They love risk. They sit it and forget it. And then you have other people who maybe came from a Great Depression household or a great financial crisis where their family was ruined financially, and they haven't been in the stock market since, or they're scared of the stock market and think there's always a danger looming, or that it could go down and ruin them financially. And it's not like there's a right and a wrong way. That's just how people are impacted by their personal experiences in life with money. And it's one of those things that we end up being financial therapists to an extent, talking through this mental relationship with money, because it's not just textbook. Yes, if it was textbook, I don't think we would even have jobs, but there's so much emotional side of money and investing that that's a bulk of kind of our job and talking through things with clients.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
money's kind of one of those topics where like people can like maybe easily get embarrassed because they feel like they're like behind their friends or can't catch up to their friends and how much money they're making, how much money they have. And so it just becomes one of those things where you can kind of like, kind of crawl back into your shell and then not really talk about it or do much about it. And then you just end up getting that much further behind. Not even like trying to keep up with people, but just in your own personal financial plan and what you view as success and where you want to be and what's important to you. And I think it's important to be feeling that way, just to, kind of be vulnerable and try and get some help from somebody like a financial planner or a budgeting expert or an accountant who can really help you out. It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody like us. There's a lot of resources out there, and just somebody who can help you and, help you get a plan in place, because to Carson's point, there is no textbook out there to tell you how to manage money or control your finances. It's very emotional, and humans are emotional beings. And if you don't have a plan, it can just become tough to know exactly what to do.
That's right. And that you mentioned it, but money can directly relate to how people feel, just happiness, and whether or not they're, if you're the old saying of trying to keep up with the Joneses, essentially get to the next point, or you always have a portion of your life that's increasing as you make more money. You have lifestyle creep, where your expenses go up as your income goes up. So you could quadruple your income in a few years and still feel like you're broke, or still feel like you don't have a bunch of excess money. And the reality is that the more control you put over your finances, I think the more you can not allow your financial situation to impact whether or not you're happy in your day-to-day life. And a lot of times where people get stuck in their finances is because they don't know what's going on. There's a lack of knowledge. And again, it might be something where people, the psychology of it, where they grew up ignoring it, not paying attention to it, not realizing how much kind of mental burden it can put, your finances can put on you. But knowledge is power. The more you know about your finances, the more you can realize and learn about yourself, your spending habits. Learn, are you in the red or are you in the green each month? So on and so forth. So I think you can definitely establish a way to learn how to deal with your emotions, with finances. We always say that it's not good to just ignore your emotions. Be aware of your emotions. It's just whether or not you act on your emotions when it comes to, especially when it comes to investing.
Yeah. And if you do have like fear about money, or you're always worried about money or whatever, I mean, that's something that we can help you work around too. And the more comfortable you feel, but like we were saying, this is the psychology of money. Basically, it's going to be a lot of about how you were raised. For one, like my husband was raised, they didn't have a lot. He's been working since he was 13, literally. And his mindset with money, like I pretty much handle all the finances. He will like occasionally ask how much something costs or whatever, and literally like be shocked that it costs that much. And I'm like, that's how much things are today. Like he keeps that mindset of when he was younger and how money was scarce and how he didn't have all the right, the clothes that he wanted and all that stuff. And so he has like a deep sort of a real emotional uh, issue with money, honestly.
Which is kind of ironic because you would think somebody like that would maybe be like very like controlling over the money and like want to know where every penny is going. And his reaction is almost just to like
hide. It's almost like, I'm just
going
to bury my head in the sand.
Yeah.
It is. And we've talked it out enough that he's getting a lot better. But when you don't have it on your mind, like we do every day, this is what we do for work. It is easy to just bury your head in the sand.
Yeah, and I think like being in it every day, like we are, obviously it's our job. So it's honestly not like the healthiest or the best thing either, because you're like, can almost be too in tune with like what's going on, especially like you're watching the stock market every day, or you're like seeing this or seeing that and seeing headlines all day. You're kind of like, I think to an extent, it can be nice to be able to remove yourself from that. Obviously have an idea what's going on, but being in every day, I think is not, for the average person, is not the best thing either. Like you shouldn't be checking your investment account every day, and you shouldn't be looking at this and that. And I mean, I'm guilty of that just because it's like I'm on our system every day and it takes me 2 seconds to type my name in and see what's going on. And so I look at it every day, but that's also like not the healthiest thing either.
Right. I think, like you mentioned, talking about the psychology of it and learning about yourself. I think the best thing people can do, whether or not, whatever extreme you're on when it comes to your relationship with money, is talk to somebody about it. And I think money is one of those things where it's frowned upon to talk about with friends and family. How much do you make? How much do you have saved up? Nobody really talks about it. But I think what I've learned being in this industry for 7 years is that our conference room, at least, I hope and I think that people feel very comfortable to talk about it. And it's usually you pull back the curtain, and as transparency increases, the more progress you can make and the more advice that we can give, the more you can learn about yourself. There's so much that can be done, the more transparent and honest and open you are about your finances. And it's only going to be for the better. If you're not in a good spot, talking it through with some professionals like ourselves, you're going to end up improving yourself working in a relationship with us. Or if you're in a really good spot, and maybe there's some things that we can bring through the thousands of conversations we've had with other individuals about the relationship with money. So there's not, again, how people are raised, there is not a wrong or right way when it comes to relationship about money and how you think about it. If you hate the stock market because it negatively impacted your family, you are perfectly justified to feel that way, and talk it through. Now, there's doesn't necessarily mean you should not be invested in the stock market the rest of your life, but it's overcoming the fears and the emotional stress that the tough stock market can put on you mentally. So all that to say, talk it out. And that's what I think we do well as a team, is being here. I hope we do well. I hope clients would say that, is talking through the emotional side of investing in finances.
the emotional side, and just a lot of times they don't know. We teach them how things work in the stock market or with stocks versus bonds versus money market versus, what do they need to be in because of their lifestyle. And so a lot of times they don't even know the answers to those questions until they come in and talk to us.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
I think like a couple good resources as we kind of wrap up here is, David, our founder, has his book, The Currency of Time. I think that's just a very good, easy to read book on, money and how to think about money and like what's important around money. And there's also a good book out there called The Psychology of Money that helps to frame, again, how people think about money and react around money. Because I feel like a lot, and we kind of touched on this earlier, but a lot of times what you learn about money is like the numbers side of things. But as we talked about here today, what's more important is the emotional side of things and how you think about money. And so just, maybe reading a couple books and understanding, like might get a tidbit, just like, oh, that's how I feel about money when this happens or that happens. And just being able to have a foundation and understand maybe why you feel that way about things. So you have a reference point to grow from there. So a couple good resources there, as well as, and I feel like in today's day and age, there's a ton of good blogs out there also that are, again, not necessarily like, they obviously are about money and the number side of things, because that's part of it, but they also teach you how to think about things from the psychological standpoint versus just strictly the number side of things, and when to, why you worry about things, why you don't worry about things, etc.
That's The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Probably a pretty easy find on Amazon. And The Currency of Time by our one and only David Adams on Amazon as well. Those are great resources. So, of course, we're here to help. That's what we do. This is what we live and breathe every single day. So if there's anything that we can help with, feel free to reach out to us, myself, Myles, or Jeri Ann. We'd be happy to help. But with that, I think this was a good topic. Great episode. So thanks for listening in, and we'll see you next week.
Any opinions are those of myself and not necessarily those of Raymond James. Expressions of opinion are as of this date and are subject to change without notice. The information contained in these podcasts do not purport to be a complete description of the securities market or developments referred to in this material. The information has been obtained from sources considered to be reliable, but we do not guarantee that the foregoing material is accurate or complete. Every investor situation is unique, and you should consider your investment goals, risk tolerance, and time horizon before making any investment. Prior to making an investment decision, please consult with your financial advisor about your individual situation. Any hypothetical examples are for illustration purposes only. Actual investor results will vary. Raymond James does not provide legal or tax services. Please discuss these matters with the appropriate professional.